I'm Charlotte Thornton Smith, partner at HCR Law, and I'm here to have a conversation with Nicole from Worcester City Women's Football Club. We're going to be talking gender equality, and I think there's a lot we can cover in terms of equality in the workplace and also on the field and through sport. So over to you, a little bit about you and your background.
Yeah, so as you said, I'm the owner and CEO of Worcester City Women Football Club. In 2021, we set out Worcester City Women as a limited company. And prior to that, there was a Worcester City ladies team that was attached to the men's team, which is quite common in football, particularly across Europe, where women's teams are sort of added on as a bolt-on to a men's team. In the US, it's a slightly different model because women's soccer, as they call it, of course, has been actually bigger than men's soccer for probably the last 4 decades over there. And that's a big reason actually due to policy that they've had in the US. But the growth of women's soccer over there has been tremendous, to the point where now their professional league has about 50% of those clubs are completely independent women's football clubs. So we've gone down that model. We're quite unique. There's only about 12, 13 teams in the UK that run in that way, where they're a completely independent club. So yeah, I'm very proud to be a female owner of a football club, of which there are not many obviously in the world. But we're on a mission to professionalise women's football in Worcester.
And it's been hugely successful, hasn't it? And we'll, I'm sure, come on to the fact that you've moved up into the next league, which is brilliant news. But competing, we've got a men's team here in Worcester as well. How's that been?
Yeah, well, I think it's been about how can we actually try and work together for the best of the city. You know, the best thing is that we can provide great sport for the city to engage in, whether that's playing, coaching, but watching and having a great fan experience. But I think it's really important to highlight that women's football is a different product to the men's game. Not many people know even that, you know, women's football was banned for 50 years by the Football Association. So it was actually suppressed back in the 1920s, and only actually the ban was lifted in the early 1970s, which has meant that we haven't had the same opportunities of growth and development as the men's game. So it's about making clear to our fan base that, you know, what you get from coming to us, watching us on a Sunday at Six Ways is a different experience to the men's game. And that's not saying that it's better or worse, it's just different. Definitely. So naturally in women's football, you do tend to get more families and younger people coming to the games. Women's football is more accessible, it's often cheaper and tends to be a more family-friendly atmosphere. But you know, I sit here today as a huge fan of the men's game as well, go and watch a lot of men's football as well as women's football, and it's sort of about respecting the two differences, but equally from a business perspective, working out how do we ensure that the women's game gets the support it needs to grow and develop.
Yeah, it's interesting because in the legal world, you know, it used to be a very male-dominated environment. Certainly when I was training, there were still far more male trainee solicitors going through the process than females. And now actually in our business, it's over 50% female.
Yeah, amazing.
Which is great, and I think, you know, it's being an inspiration as well. And I think certainly in women's football, you know, the game itself has had far more profile, hasn't it?
Yeah.
For young girls. The Lionesses, of course, have been a huge inspiration.
Definitely, and we've been really trying to use that momentum, particularly when the Lionesses won the Euros. We've really used that as a platform to develop and grow here. So to create Worcester City Women and have us play at this amazing stadium at Six Ways, create a great fan experience where these young girls and boys can see role models on the pitch, these women playing great football and playing at this sort of elite sports stadium. It really does give them that inspiration to say, hey, I can do that. And you know, I think as you said in your world as well, it was very similar for me growing up. I didn't know that I could own a football club. I didn't know that I could even work in football because there were no female role models for me to look up and actually see them doing that. So that's also a big part of my, I suppose, motivation and drive is to show that you can do that.
Totally agree with that statement. That's very much how I feel now too. You know, for the many more male and female trainee solicitors coming through, to show that it's much more balanced now in terms of the male-female ratios. And that's important, it's important for the next generation.
Yeah, and it's like normalising it for men as well. It's great when we come here on a Sunday and I'm seeing all of the girls signing autographs with our young fans, and it's a really great mixture of boys and girls. Young boys are growing up seeing strong females, athletes, and this being an experience that's inclusive for all.
Yeah. I think within our profession, we still do lose a lot of women who maybe cut time out to have families and then maybe think, oh, do I really want to be giving the level of commitment, or thinking they need to be full-time. But we have many part-time partners in our business now, and they manage to give the commitment they need to do and get the balance with their family. But we're just undertaking a programme at the moment where we're mentoring returners to work after they've had time out for family. And that's been hugely successful. Do you have anything similar you can relate to within the football world?
Yeah, well, I was just thinking, I think football has been quite slow to sort of pick up on how can we best support our female athletes. It's only really now that research is being done even on the female body and the female athletes in terms of how does menstrual cycle and hormone levels affect performance. There's actually a crazy stat that only 6% of medical and science research into athletes is done on women. So we are basing a lot of our strength and conditioning, physiotherapy and coaching work based on predominantly research that's done on male athletes. Yeah. And so it's only been in the last few years actually that professional clubs have to provide maternity support and cover. So previously when I've worked in the game, actually players were on contracts that should they then get pregnant, the contract could be completely torn apart, and they had to, they didn't have that support and that guarantee, which of course, if you're then a female athlete and you're considering how much you've sacrificed in your career to get to this level, to then only be given 1-year contracts and that actually if you became pregnant, you wanted to start a family, you would not get that support. Fortunately, that has started to change. There's been policies put in place right from the top of world football, the governing body FIFA, and then that's gone into member associations such as the Football Association as well. So we are starting to see some of those top clubs in the Women's Super League put in place some of these policies and support, but the general consensus is that we need to do a lot more. And of course, as women's football is professionalising, because I still don't think that it's fully professionalised, as we start to go down the pyramid and into the levels such as tiers 3 and 4, we've now just got promoted into tier 4, we need to start bringing together more of those policies and standards that the clubs can meet and to support those players. So I think there's a lot that football can learn from industries such as you're in as well.
Mentoring just generally, I think, has been something we've introduced and embraced over the last couple of years. Again, male and female, this isn't particularly unique to females, but I do think females particularly get a lot out of it. That support at whatever stage you're at, whether it's after a career break, could be injury, could be family, whatever it might be, coming back into it, if you can help transition that or move to next levels, promotion. You've got big challenges in terms of the new league you're playing in, and that might be difficult for some of the players to juggle.
The mentoring is so important, and even outside of Worcester City Women, I mentor for a brilliant charity called Switch the Play. Switch the Play are the UK's only charity that look after athletes that are transitioning from full-time sport into life after sport. And so I'm constantly talking with athletes both at Worcester City Women but also outside of that, outside of football, in loads of different sports, who are trying to sort of work out their career path when they end playing professionally any sport into then what does my career look like, so what are the transferable skills. And so for the players that work or play at Worcester City Women, because obviously they're not professional as well, they have to juggle that dual career extremely well, and the players, we try and support those as much as we can and actually encourage them to actually search out those strong dual careers and working with their employers that can be so supportive in their football endeavours as well. And I think a big part of our job as a club is also educating employers and businesses and even parents the importance of sport and what sport can give you outside of just the physical benefits, but also the transferable skills, the mental support as well that can give you, because there still tends to be a little bit of thought around, well, actually work's more important, or my education's more important, so give up the football or give up whatever sport you're in. But actually the two can really support each other. And I think, as you said, mentoring is something that can really try and support and educate people within that.
Any particular challenges, highs, lows that you would like to share?
Yeah, well, I think certainly throughout my career, a challenge has always certainly been the fact that I'm in a male-dominated industry. So there has been times when I've been the only female in an office or in a team, which there has been times when you've not felt like you've either been taken, seriously in terms of your footballing knowledge, but I've always been quite calm in that respect and just let my work do the talking. There's always been those kind of challenges, but it kind of also gives me strength in a way, and you have to be resilient to be in these sorts of industries. I mean, some of my particular highs, I've got a master's degree in football business. I was one of only 2 females doing that course as well.
Brilliant.
I did that part-time whilst working full-time in London, and that was a real challenge, but really proud to come out with some really excellent marks on that, and also a great research project that then actually got published. And that was really a stepping stone for me, creating networks and connections within the football industry as well. I would also say another high was working for Tottenham Hotspur, which is also the club that I actually support, but I'm working in their women's team to help professionalise that club and get them into the Women's Super League was brilliant, and something I'm very proud of. And then to sort of be able to see them 5 years on playing a sold-out Wembley in an FA Cup final was amazing, because some of those players that I was with and actually some of them brought to the club are still playing there, and that was a really proud moment for me.
Yeah, sure.
And then, of course, to actually own my own football club in my home city is amazing, and it's a privilege every day, as much as there are quite a lot of challenges as well, of course. But it's certainly a privilege, and I don't get obviously I'm pleased when we win on the pitch, but for me, when I see the girls signing the autographs, and you see the families smiling, you see the pictures post-game, and you see what impact you're making into the community.
Absolutely.
That's what really drives me. And
I was just going to say
highs.
that I think for us, one of the reasons that we are in partnership with you is in recognition of that, the valuable contribution you make to the community. That's really important to us as well. You're independent, you're clearly doing such a good thing here. It sort of ticks all the boxes in terms of, an organisation. Why wouldn't we be getting behind this? Plus also the fact one of our trainee solicitors is a player in the squad. We'll perhaps come back to that on another conversation, but that's important to us as well, to show the support to her as well as you as a club locally. And we've always
felt that, from the moment that we started working together, and that understanding from many of the colleagues at HCR Law, in that they understand our level, and that we're independent and our unique selling property in that sense. And actually, as you said, the impact we can make on the community is huge. We kind of try to build that really family feel, and we feel that with our partners as well.
Well, brilliant. We've got lots more to do together, I think.
Absolutely, yes. Definitely a lot of growth to be done.
Yeah, it's been great chatting to you. Thanks,
too.
Nicole.
Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you.